We're talking about Seung-ju. This woman is fiercely independent. A total marriage is not for me kind of person. She's 35 years old, and she is not lacking for anything. Seriously, we're talking she wants a mansion? She's got it. Wants a killer career? Absolutely crushing it. She's at the top of her game. The most talented producer at her company. Every show Seung-ju touches turns to gold, ratings-wise. Her mindset? Work is her marriage. Money is her husband and kids. Seung-ju loves kicking back with her best friends. You know, hitting up karaoke, sharing the good times. But like everyone, she's got her own set of problems. The thing is, society just has so many preconceived notions about single women. Seeing all her friends getting married and settling down, it gets to Seung-ju a little bit. If we are being honest, she prefers to stay home by herself. It's just easier. Friends are always trying to push her to find a boyfriend, someone to show off when they get together. But Seung-ju always uses work as her excuse, saying she's poured her whole soul into her career and doesn't have the headspace for dating. Then one of her other friends chimes in and tells her not to date, like it's a terrible idea. This friend says she's constantly stressed about her son, feeling like she's lost herself. At the end of the night, the friend is totally drunk, and her husband has to help her into the car. He glares at Seung-ju, accusing her of being a bad influence on his married wife. He really wants her not to be around his wife. Seung-ju is left a little baffled. Like, once you're married, you can't hang out with your friends anymore? Later that night, Seung-ju calls a driving service and specifically requests a female driver to come get her. But right then, her mom calls, nagging Seung-ju to send her living expenses money, and guilt-tripping her about being a bad daughter. Seung-ju is completely used to this routine. Every time her mom calls, it's just to ask for money. Never a single word of concern. When Seung-ju finally gets home, she notices the lock on her front door looks messed up. She carefully opens the door and finds her living room ransacked. And then, when she looks in the bedroom, she lets out a blood-curdling scream. A total stranger is lying dead in her bed. The police show up super quickly. Since the crime scene is Seung-ju's apartment, she's immediately considered a suspect and hauled down to the police station. Turns out the dead woman was a tourist who had booked Seung-ju's place as a homestay, basically like an Airbnb. They'd only communicated by phone and never actually met in person. Because there was a massive rainstorm on the night of the murder, the cops couldn't find any useful clues, and the case quickly went cold. After Seung-ju is released from the police station, her tenants start showing up, all wanting to break their leases. Not only that, but they start saying the killer is targeting women who live alone. This just makes Seung-ju mad. Like, dealing with this situation wasn't already enough, now these tenants are just piling on. While the investigation is ongoing, Seung-ju can't go back to her apartment, so she's forced to go stay with her mom, but her mom refuses to let her in. She starts throwing salt all over Seung-ju to ward off evil spirits, scolding her for not listening to her and insisting on living alone, saying she should have just given the money to her younger brother instead. At this point, Seung-ju is completely devastated. She dropped out of school and middle school to earn money to help her family, and she's worked her butt off ever since. She wanted to prove to everyone that she could live an amazing life on her own. Seung-ju doesn't go to her mom's. Instead, she spends the night in a sauna. The next day, her best friend finds out what happened and totally rips into Seung-ju, asking her why she didn't come to her in the first place, and offers her a place to stay for a while. Seung-ju remembers what her friend's husband said, and not wanting to cause any problems in their marriage, she turns down the offer and decides to go back to her apartment. Her friend can't believe how stubborn Seung-ju is being. The truth is, Seung-ju doesn't have any other choice. She worked so hard to buy that house. It would be a complete ripoff to sell it for cheap, because it's now considered a place where a crime happened. Just then, the radio station calls. Since she's about to move to the national radio station, she needs to provide a collection of her previous work for their records. Seung-ju hears this, and she gets a little stressed because her work samples are at her place. But she really needs to keep this job, so she has to ask the cops for help. After a lot of pleading, the police officer finally agreed to let her go back to her apartment. Like, one time. But when they're about to head to Seung-ju's house, the cop suddenly gets a call, and he has to go deal with something else. So they leave Seung-ju on the side of the road and tell her to wait there. Seung-ju waits and waits and waits, but the cops never come back. Since her job is on the line, she decides to go to her apartment by herself. She gets to her front door and tries to tell herself not to be scared. But as soon as she's about to go inside, some thug grabs her from behind and covers her mouth. She can't fight him off. Just when the thug is about to drag her away, a man suddenly appears and kicks the thug, sending him flying. Then the two guys start fighting. This thug is definitely no match for this guy. He throws the thug to the ground with a judo move. The thug realizes he's outmatched and runs away. The man takes the unconscious Seung-ju to the hospital. When Seung-ju wakes up, she immediately thanks him. The man, whose name is Jak Doo, stops her and asks her not to tear down his house. Seung-ju is totally confused. So, get this. A few days earlier, Seung-ju's favorite aunt passed away. She knew what Seung-ju's mom was like. So she turned all her cash into land and left it all to Seung-ju. And just like she predicted, Seung-ju's mom calls her son, Seung-tae, and tells him to come and get his inheritance. Seung-tae is basically a bum who doesn't do anything. When he finds out he's inheriting a mountain of land, he rushes over there with his buddies to check it out. He plans to build a fancy resort. Jak Doo's house is right in the middle of the land. Seung-tae wants to offer him a moving expenses fee so he'll leave. Jak Doo is obviously not having it. He likes living there, and he's not going to leave. He goes to the forest ranger with an axe. The ranger tells him not to get worked up, and tells him to go beg the owner of the land for help. To protect his house, Jak Doo decides to go to the city to find Seung-ju. He no sooner got to her, he saw that thug trying to harm her. Jak Doo was real quick and was able to get to the thug. The person he saved was Seung-ju. That's where their fate began. Jak Doo wants Seung-ju to come up with a solution. Looking at the tall, strong Jak Doo standing in front of her, plus the fact that he saved her life. The other day, Seung-ju suddenly has an idea. She'll have him move in and be her husband, which will also help keep her safe. Seung-ju agrees not to tear down Jak Doo's house, but when she's about to tell him her conditions, she can't bring herself to say it. They've only just met, so proposing marriage seems a little crazy. Ever since witnessing the murder scene, Seung-ju has been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. She's constantly feeling scared, and in severe cases, she even faints. The doctor told her that she shouldn't be alone, and that having someone by her side would help her recover. Seung-ju is feeling super bummed out, not knowing what her future holds. Right when things couldn't get any worse, she gets called down to the police station. Turns out the police found a package at her apartment with the victim's fingerprints on it. Seung-ju is positive that she's never seen the package before. The police think the killer wanted to get close to the victim, so they used the package delivery method. The victim thought the package was for Seung-ju, so she signed for it. What the police are saying scares Seung-ju. It means that the killer's target wasn't the renter, but Seung-ju, the homeowner. Seung-ju is completely crushed. Looking at her apartment from a distance, the thought of it terrifies her, so she decides to sleep at the sauna again. The next day, Seung-ju pulls herself together. Today is the day she's supposed to start her new job at the national radio station. But when they find out she's suffering from PTSD, the higher-ups tell her they don't want to hire her. This just about breaks Seung-ju. I mean, she literally has a house she can't even go home to, and the job she was so stoked about is now totally screwed. She honestly doesn't know what to do. Her best friend tells Seung-ju to come stay with her, but her friend's husband flat out refuses, even calling Seung-ju a jinx who'll bring bad luck to their family. Ouch! This is the first time Seung-ju has truly felt the pain of living alone. If she could just find a husband like her friend has, maybe none of this would have happened. So Seung-ju decides right then and there that she needs to find a husband to protect her. That's when the image of Jak Doo pops into her head. She was too chicken to ask him before, but this time she worked up the courage to go find him herself and beg him to marry her. After half a day of traveling, Seung-ju finally finds Jak Doo. She gets straight to the point, telling him that if he wants to keep his house, he has to become her live-in husband. She even says she'll pay him a decent wage. Jak Doo is a little ticked off when he hears this, thinking Seung-ju is deliberately trying to make things difficult for him. But Seung-ju doesn't give up. She tells him that if Jak Doo hadn't shown up, she might be dead by now. That's when Jak Doo drops a bomb. He says he already has someone he likes. This crushes Seung-ju. She finally gets the idea of getting married, but the guy already has a girlfriend. Seung-ju is furious and about to leave immediately. But Jak Doo stops her, saying it's getting dark, and it's not safe for her to go down the mountain alone. He tells her to stay overnight. Seung-ju still insists on leaving. She doesn't want to embarrass herself any further. As a result, she can't make it down the mountain even when it's gotten completely dark. All those sounds in the woods are scary as heck. Finally, Jak Doo finds her and takes her back to his place. The next morning, Seung-ju wakes up to find a breakfast that Jak Doo has prepared for her. She writes a quick goodbye note. She's no longer going to ask Jak Doo to marry her and decides to face the future on her own. But get this. Less than 2 days later, Jak Doo finds Seung-ju and agrees to marry her. Seung-ju is overjoyed. They go to take wedding photos that very day. Seung-ju thinks Jak Doo is kinda sloppy looking, but for the sake of her future, She can only go with it. Her friends find out the news and rush over to Seung-ju's place. They're shocked and can't believe Seung-ju is marrying such a scruffy-looking dude. They think Seung-ju is being way too impulsive, pointing out that they've only met 3 times, and she's trusting him way too easily. But Seung-ju tells them this is the best option. The killer is clearly targeting her. By marrying Jak Doo, she'll have a man to protect her, and she can feel a lot safer. That evening, Seung-ju gets home and finds that Jak Doo isn't there. She musters up all her courage and pushes open the door to the bedroom. She hasn't been in there since the murder. In a flash, she seems to see the victim lying on the bed again. That's when Seung-ju's PTSD kicks in. She quickly runs out of the room. Just then, Jak Doo gets back. Seung-ju hugs him tightly until she calms down. The next day, Seung-ju takes Jak Doo into the city. Jak Doo immediately gets into character, enthusiastically calling Seung-ju honey. When Seung-ju goes to get her car fixed, the mechanic tries to rip her off. But when he sees the big dude standing next to Seung-ju, he quickly shuts up. The next day, Seung-ju gets a call from her brother, Seung-tae. He wants to inherit the land on the mountain. This makes Seung-ju furious. All these years, she's been working not only to support herself, but also to support her brother. She's even paying off his startup loan. Seung-ju gives her brother a piece of her mind. That land is absolutely off limits. Seung-tae has no choice but to ask their mom for help. But their mom isn't worried. She believes that Seung-ju isn't married yet. That means her property will eventually belong to her mother's family anyway. After hearing what his mom has to say, Seung-tae sneaks into Seung-ju's house and steals her seal. Then, he goes to the bank and takes out a loan. So back at her mom's place, she's totally bragging to her friends that her son is about to launch his successful business. Her friends are all jealous, saying she doesn't just have a smart son, but also an understanding and supportive daughter. But just as her mom is basking in the glow of their envy, Seung-ju calls and tears her a new one. Turns out her mom used all the money Seung-ju gave her to pay for her aunt's burial plot, and just gave it to her brother. So now Seung-ju can't even get her aunt's ashes. She's so mad. Seung-ju yells that she won't be sending her any money this month. Not long after that, the police call Seung-ju with some news. They've caught the stalker from that night. Seung-ju sees him and realizes he's the husband of the woman who lives downstairs, one of her tenants. It turns out this guy had secretly installed hidden cameras in Seung-ju's bathroom so he could spy on her. He was afraid the police would find out about this, so he wanted to go back and remove the cameras. But he ran into Seung-ju coming home. Even though the tenant's husband is a creep, he has an alibi. The police investigated and confirmed that he wasn't involved in the murder. When Seung-ju goes outside, she bumps into the voyeur's wife. The wife accuses Seung-ju of seducing her husband. Seung-ju didn't even want to pay any attention to her, but now she can't hold back. They start arguing and things escalate, and they end up in a brawl. At the same time, Jak Doo is at the hospital, picking up medicine for Seung-ju. The doctor reveals Seung-ju's medical condition, hoping Jak Doo can help her overcome her struggles. Jak Doo is surprised to hear what she's been through. That's when he learns about all the trauma Seung-ju has experienced. He can't help but start to feel sorry for Seung-ju, and he swears that he'll protect her from now on. When Seung-ju gets home, she finds Jak Doo seriously cooking dinner. This gives Seung-ju, who's exhausted both physically and mentally, a little bit of comfort. While they're eating, Jak Doo promises to always be there for Seung-ju until she can overcome her anxiety disorder. But there's one condition. During this time, Seung-ju has to go back to the mountain with him once a week. It turns out that Jak Doo may seem sloppy, but he's actually a wealthy tycoon in disguise. His grandfather is a national treasure artisan, and he's the only heir. To train Jak Doo, his grandfather took him to live on the mountain. His first love didn't want Jak Doo to stay on the mountain, so she convinced him to go abroad with her. But on the day they were supposed to leave, his grandfather chased after Jak Doo and got into a car accident. His grandfather died in his arms. This left a scar in Jak Doo's heart. He decided to live in the mountains and forests to fulfill his grandfather's wishes. But his grandfather's top disciple won't sit idly by. He uses the name of a national treasure artisan to make money illegally. Now that everyone knows his true face, he can only search everywhere for Jak Doo to save face. To avoid being found by these people, Jak Doo changed his mind and agreed to be Seung-ju's live-in husband. Jak Doo's first love, Yoon-jo, also returns to Korea at this time. She originally wanted to rekindle her old flame with Jak Doo, but she didn't expect him to be married. Yoon-jo refuses to give up, so she accepts an invitation to participate in a TV show and appoints Seung-ju as the producer. Yoon-jo intends to befriend Seung-ju, whom she doesn't know at all. She takes the opportunity to inquire about their relationship. Seung-ju is completely unaware of this. Every day she goes for a morning run with Jak Doo. Every week, the two of them will also go back to the mountain to stay for one night. Without knowing it, her mood has improved a lot. Her brother learns about Sung-ju's marriage from his friends and rushes over to confirm it. Sung-ju is indifferent to him because she thinks he's been sent by her mother to spy on her. But her brother actually came to congratulate Sung-ju. He knows that his mother has always treated his sister like a money-making machine, and that his sister has sacrificed a lot for the family. So he hopes his sister can be happy. From now on, he'll take care of the family matters. But when Seung-tae gets home, his mother takes out a headshot of a middle-aged man, saying she wants to introduce this man to Sung-ju as her husband. Seung-tae is kinda helpless. He hopes his mom can just let his sister be. At least let her choose who she wants to marry, right? But mom is not giving up that dream. She says that the whole reason she raised Sung-ju was so she could make money. This makes Seung-tae furious, and he tears up the photo of the man she wants her to marry. Today, Yoon-jo asks Sung-ju to meet up to discuss the interview. But as soon as Sung-ju is out of the picture, Yoon-jo goes straight to Jak Doo. The two of them meet again after 15 years apart. Yoon-jo gets straight to the point. She says she wants to get back together with Jak Doo. Faced with Yoon-jo's confession, Jak Doo is super calm. He says that he's married, and that the fact that they broke up before means they weren't meant to be. Then he leaves. This makes Yoon-jo furious. She's a beautiful, rich, well-educated woman who's been rejected by a man. Yoon-jo takes her anger out on Seung-ju. During the interview, she makes all sorts of unreasonable demands. If Sung-ju can't meet them, she'll cancel her contract with Sung-ju's company. But Seung-ju doesn't flinch. She says that if Yoon-jo cancels the contract for these reasons, the next day, negative news about her will be on the front page. Yoon-jo didn't expect to meet such a tough opponent. After work, Sung-ju is about to go home when she unexpectedly runs into the head of the client company. However, Sung-ju doesn't know who he is. Neither of them wants to give way. Eric gets out of his car and starts criticizing Sung-ju, saying that as a woman, she doesn't know how to back up a car. Sung-ju isn't one to back down either. Without saying a word, she gets into Eric's car, parks it in a space next to them, and then gets back in her car and drives away in style. This move leaves Eric speechless. He also starts to develop an interest in this tough woman. So, he goes to the parking lot every day, waiting for Sung-ju to show up. He even makes sure to introduce Sung-ju to her boss, recommending her to come to his company to make a documentary. At this point, Eric still doesn't know that Seung-ju's husband is Jak Doo, the man his father is looking for. Soon after, the boss gives Seung-ju the job of making the documentary. This makes her super happy. If she can complete this assignment, she'll get the stable job that many people dream of. But when she gets to the partner company, she finds out that the boss is Eric, the guy she had that parking lot run-in with. Sung-ju just wants to find a hole to crawl into. That evening, the two of them went to the performance venue to check things out. During the dinner, Eric proposes that Seung-ju participate in producing a documentary about the descendants of famous artisans. If Seung-ju completes the task, he'll help her become an editor at the national TV station. This is the position that Seung-ju has always dreamed of. Good pay and easy work. Sung-ju is excited about the upcoming promotion. But at this point, she still doesn't know that the main subject of the documentary is her husband, Jak Doo. The next day, the killer sneaks into Seung-ju's house again, mistaking her for someone else. But he doesn't know that there's a man inside. The killer tries to run away, but Jak Doo hears the noise. He chases the killer to a secluded corner, but he can't catch him. After a few days of interaction, Eric feels that Seung-ju is his soulmate. Although he hasn't gotten Sung-ju's permission yet, he rushes to choose an engagement ring and prepares a cake, planning to propose to Seung-ju tonight. At the same time, Jak Doo spots the stalker on the street and wants to catch him quickly. But unfortunately, he gets hit by Eric's car. Jak Doo doesn't want to let the stalker escape, so he decides not to pursue Eric's responsibility. However, Eric insists on taking him to the hospital. Jak Doo has no other choice but to leave his phone number and continue chasing the stalker. When Eric gets back to his car, he sees that the cake is completely ruined. In that moment, he feels devastated. That evening, Sung-ju calls Jak Doo, saying that she has to work overtime until late at night. Jak Doo hears this and gets a little worried. He tells her to send him a picture. Although Seung-ju says it's a pain, she feels warmed by Jak Doo's concern. Growing up, no one really cared about her except for herself. When she finishes work and gets home, she finds Jak Doo still awake, sitting on the sofa, waiting for her. The next morning, Sung-ju notices a bruise on Jak Doo's back. After learning that Jak Doo was in a car accident, she angrily calls the other person. As soon as they pick up, Sung-ju starts yelling, not realizing that it's her client's boss. Later, the two of them go to the meeting point to sort this out. Sung-ju is furious and wants to fight the other party. But when she sees who it is, she's stunned. It's her client's boss, Eric. Eric is even more surprised than she is. Yesterday, he was planning to propose to Sung-ju, but now he finds out she's already married. At this point, Eric just feels heartbroken. Seeing the two of them talking, Jak Doo grabs Sung-ju's hand and tries to leave. Seeing this, Eric offers to treat the two of them to a meal to clear up the misunderstanding. Sung-ju misunderstands Eric's intentions, thinking that he wants to learn about her personal life. So she secretly tells Jak Doo to be affectionate with her. Jak Doo says he doesn't want to, but he still cooperates with Seung-ju to show affection during the meal. Eric's eyes are always on Jak Doo, wondering how he is inferior to him. In the afternoon, Sung-ju's best friend asks her out for tea. Her friend says she's jealous of Sung-ju. During the day, Sung-ju goes to work, and Jak Doo stays home and does the housework. When Seung-ju gets home, she can eat a hot meal. Her husband never cooks. These words make Seung-ju feel happy. At this point, she doesn't realize that she's gradually falling in love with Jak Doo. Thanks to the police's efforts, the killer is finally caught. This means Seung-ju doesn't have to worry about being afraid anymore. It also means that Jak Doo will be leaving. Sung-ju asks him to stay, but Jak Doo refuses. Compared to the hustle and bustle of the city, he prefers life in the mountains. On the other hand, Seung-ju's mom is furious when she finds out that her daughter is married. She's not angry about anything else, but she's angry that her daughter married a poor guy. The next day, she storms over to find Jak Doo, criticizing him for not understanding etiquette and daring to secretly marry her daughter. Then, wanting to reel in a rich son-in-law, she demands that the two of them get a divorce. After all, Sung-ju has to support her family, and she has to marry a rich man, not a poor guy like Jak Doo. These words make Jak Doo a little angry. He can't see her concern for Sung-ju, so he asks her if she knows that her daughter has an anxiety disorder, and living alone will be very scary. Hearing this, she isn't moved at all, and even scolds Jak Doo for being uneducated and daring to criticize an older person like that. At this point, Jak Doo understands why Sung-ju doesn't want to go home. It turns out her mom is a leech, who just wants to suck her dry. Originally planning to leave, Jak Doo changes his mind. He decides to stay and protect Sung-ju. Sung-ju's mom is speechless because of Jak Doo, so she leaves. Not willing to give up, she calls Seung-ju and tells her to come home. When Sung-ju gets home, she starts criticizing Jak Doo for being a poor, powerless parasite who only knows how to freeload. Sung-ju sees through her mother's intentions, saying that she wants to live with Jak Doo, even if he spends all her money. Hearing this, she angrily scolds Seung-ju for being ungrateful. Sung-ju has been hearing these words for over 20 years. At this point, she finally can't take it anymore and asks why she always has to suffer. Seeing this, she also starts to make a fuss, saying that she won't ask Sung-ju for money anymore and will sever their mother-daughter relationship. Sung-ju tries to remain calm and eat with Jak Doo. Jak Doo is very perceptive. He has long seen Seung-ju's mood, advising her not to listen to her mother on everything. This makes Sung-ju very touched. Since her father passed away, Jak Doo is the one who cares about her the most. That evening, Seung-ju gets home from work and finds they have guests. It's those three spry old women again. Sung-ju smiles and greets them, then pulls Jak Doo into the room, demanding an explanation. Jak Doo says that these old women are his neighbors from the mountain, and they needed a place to stay for the night. He hopes Sung-ju will let them stay the night, and he'll take them back to the mountain tomorrow. Sung-ju is taken aback. There are only 2 bedrooms, so how are 5 people going to sleep? Before she can say anything, the women pull out matching outfits and tell the 2 of them to change. Reluctantly, the 2 of them obediently put them on. At this point, Sung-ju looks like a little chick. She is not happy. While they're eating, Sung-ju's phone rings. While she's outside, the women start bad-mouthing Sung-ju for being rude and disrespectful. They think Seung-ju should stay home and take care of her husband and kids, and that Jak Doo should be the one going out to make money. But Jak Doo says that he doesn't care about these things, and that as long as Sung-ju is happy, he's happy. Sung-ju gets a call from her mom. It turns out that to find out about Jak Doo's background, she had someone investigate him, but they couldn't find anything. The investigator said that usually, only people without a registered address don't have any information. Mom tells Sung-ju that Jak Doo is 8 or 9/10 a con artist. After hanging up, she's still not over it. She's afraid that Seung-ju's money will be swindled away by Jak Doo, so she decides to go get her retirement money back. The next day, she leads the police to Sung-ju's house. When she sees the old women dancing, she angrily wants to kick them out. The 2 sides get into an argument, and then a fight. In the end, all 4 of them are taken to the police station. Hearing the news, Jak Doo rushes to the police station. Mom tells the police that Jak Doo is a con artist. Jak Doo can't defend himself because he doesn't have any ID. The police have to temporarily detain him at the station. The old women take the opportunity to call Sung-ju to tell her what happened, wanting her to come and help Jak Doo. Jak Doo grabs the phone and tells Sung-ju to focus on her work and that he'll handle everything himself. Faced with the police's questions, Jak Doo still refuses to reveal his identity. Sung-ju's mom continues to put pressure on him, believing that Jak Doo must have done something shady, and that's why he refuses to reveal his identity. The old woman can't take it anymore. They've seen Jak Doo grow up since he was a child, and they absolutely don't believe he's a con artist. Even though the old women say this, Sung-ju's mom still doesn't believe it, saying spitefully that she'll sue the women for illegal trespassing and that she'll send Jak Doo to jail. Hearing this, the old women get angry and start pulling Seung-ju's mom's hair and beating her up. Jak Doo doesn't want the situation to continue to worsen, so he has to write his name down. Just as Jak Doo puts pen to paper, Sung-ju arrives just in time. She tells the police that Jak Doo is her husband and that her mother is the one causing trouble. Outside, Mom still refuses to let it go, asking Sung-ju why she trusts a con artist and why she doesn't trust her family. Hearing this, Seung-ju just feels ridiculous. Her mom has never cared about her, and every time she calls, it's always for money. Hearing this, she's also very angry, saying that she should have abandoned Seung-ju back then. It turns out that when Seung-ju was young, she fell into the water because she was distracted while playing. Her dad immediately jumped into the sea to save her. Sung-ju was rescued, but her dad passed away forever. Her dad was the pillar of the family, and from then on, her mom began to hate Seung-ju, forcing her to drop out of school and earn money, and always forcing her to give money to support the family. That evening, Jak Doo receives an invitation for an interview. When he learns that Seung-ju is the editor in charge of the interview, to avoid making things difficult for Seung-ju, he decides to return to the mountains and live in seclusion. Even though he likes Seung-ju, he doesn't want to break his promise to his grandfather. But Jak Doo doesn't know that as soon as he leaves, Sung-ju is threatened. There's a cursed image taped to her car. At this time, Sung-ju realizes that the police have arrested the wrong person and that the real killer is still out there. She completely breaks down, not knowing why someone would want to harm her. Her anxiety disorder, which seemed to have been cured, has also relapsed at this time. Her best friend is worried about Seung-ju and, ignoring her husband's protests, wants to take her home to stay. However, at this point, the stalker shows up at her door. Sung-ju realizes that he's the stalker and tries to escape through the back door, but the stalker chases right after her. Sung-ju runs to a crowded place, begging people to help her, but the stalker doesn't even flinch and seems determined to take Sung-ju out right then and there. Fortunately, a kind passerby helps, and Seung-ju manages to escape. The stalker is hit by a car while running away. Sung-ju doesn't even dare to look at him. At this point, she's completely overwhelmed by fear. The next day, Sung-ju goes to the mountain very early. The only person she can rely on is Jak Doo. Although he feels sorry for Sung-ju, Jak Doo doesn't agree to let her come to his house. So he arranges for her to stay at the old woman's house, and then leaves on his own. Seeing Sung-ju looking haggard, the old woman feels very sorry for her. She tells Seung-ju to stay here for a few more days, and wait for the situation to improve before going back to the city. Meanwhile, Mom can't get in touch with Sung-ju, so she calls her best friend directly to ask about the situation. However, she's not worried about Sung-ju. She just wants to find her so she can ask her for more money. The friend lies, saying that Seung-ju is busy working. Mom goes home angrily, scolding Sung-ju for being ungrateful. Sung-tae blames his mom, thinking that she shouldn't have rushed to bring the police to his sister's house. Although he cares about his sister, Seung-tae still hasn't given up the idea of using the land she left behind to make money. Initially, he planned to borrow money to develop a resort, but the bank refused to lend to him because the mountain is full of rocks. So he calls Seung-ju, suggesting that they could mine the rocks on the mountain to make money. Sung-ju firmly refuses, threatening that if her brother does anything wrong, she won't give him any more money. Before leaving, Seung-ju finds Jak Doo, saying that if he agrees, she can stay here with him forever. This word makes Jak Doo waver a little. Although he doesn't say it, he knows he's in love with Seung-ju, but he doesn't want to break his promise to his grandfather. Helplessly, Jak Doo can only take Seung-ju to the town bus station, telling her to go back to Seoul before dark. Hearing this, Sung-ju is a little sad, not expecting Jak Doo to be so heartless. Afterwards, she expresses her sadness, hoping that Jak Doo will turn around and look at her. Jak Doo stands still, but finally softens. He knows that being with Sung Ju will have risks, but he's willing to accept them. Afterward, he hugs Sung Ju. The old woman next to her is happy to see this scene. Sung Ju decides to stay, giving up her favorite job and living a simple life of working during the day and resting at night. With Jak Doo, although there are many inconveniences, Sung Ju is very happy, because this is the only place where she can feel warmth. The two decide to live like this. However, in another place, Yoon Jo is not willing to let her first love be with another woman. After a performance, she tells everyone that her first love, Jak Doo, is about to return as the heir. Everyone is surprised to hear this. Eric is also furious, because they still haven't found Jak Doo, let alone his return. After the performance, Eric scolds Yoon Jo, but she's still confident, saying that she'll definitely find Jak Doo. Afterward, Yoon Jo goes up the mountain to find Jak Doo, hoping he'll come back to her. She's always thought that Jak Doo broke up with her because of his grandfather's death, but Jak Doo says that he doesn't blame Yoon Jo and that he has someone he likes now. Yoon Jo didn't expect Sung Ju to give up her job to live this rural life. On the other hand, Sung Ju is playing on her phone and accidentally walks into Jak Doo's office. She's stunned by the scene before her. It's at this moment that she realizes that Jak Doo is the main character in the documentary. Knowing that Jak Doo doesn't want to participate in these things, Sung Ju goes back to Seoul. She brings back the herbs that Jak Doo handpicked and gives them to her mom, saying that she'll end everything here and go back to live with Jak Doo, and that she won't give her family any more living expenses. Sung Ju's mom gets furious, even more convinced that Jak Doo is a con artist, tricking Sung Ju into giving up a good job to live a hard life in the mountains. Sung Ju can't take it anymore. No matter how much mom blames her, she's made up her mind. She also says that she won't give her younger brother any more pocket money. Then she leaves. Mom gets angry and threatens to sue her for being unfilial. The next day, Sung Ju cuts her hair short, fearing that it'll be hard to take care of on the mountain. Then she goes to the company, deleting all the information about Jak Doo, and warns everyone that if they do a special report on Jak Doo, she'll sue them. Seeing Sung Ju being stubborn, In Pyo threatens to blacklist her if she doesn't give in. But Seong Ju doesn't care. She brings out an interview from 10 years ago. This is also the reason why she's being chased by the stalker. Years ago, to dig into the inside story of bribery in schools. In Pyo didn't hesitate to use the feelings of his colleague, Se Ra, to do the show. Because of this, Se Ra couldn't stay at the school. After the job was done, to get rid of Se Ra, In Pyo applied to study abroad, and the follow-up work was handed over to Sung Ju. Sung Ju knew why In Pyo did that, but due to the pressure of life, she had to accept. Se Ra couldn't stand the pressure and ended her life, leaving behind a suicide note related to the editor-in-chief. So Se Ra's husband has always seen Sung Ju as the culprit, believing that she's the one who killed his wife. At the same time, Jak Doo meets a young boy at the bus stop. He immediately recognizes that the string of beads on the boy's hand is exactly the same as the one on the stalker's hand. Jak Doo follows the stalker's trail through the boy. He tracks down the stalker, then calls the number he got from the boy's hand, asking the stalker why he did that. The stalker still believes that Seong Ju is the one who killed Se Ra. Soon after, the police arrive to arrest the stalker. Just when one thing is over, another happens. Before she can come to her senses, Mom brings her younger brother to find Sung Ju. It turns out that her younger brother lost a lot of money on a bad investment, and he doesn't know what to say to the investors. Mom finds Sung Ju, demanding that she sell the mountain to pay off Sung Tae's debts, or she'll sue her. These words make Seong Ju feel ridiculous. She's sacrificed so much for her family, but Mom doesn't care about her. Instead, she wants to squeeze out all of her savings. No matter what Sung Ju says, Mom forces her to sell the mountain, and if that's not enough, to sell the mansion and the car too. After saying this, the two mothers and son happily leave, acting like Seong Ju is the one who owes them money. Seeing Sung Ju sitting on the sofa, Jak Doo feels very sorry for her. Sung Ju leans on Jak Doo's shoulder, recalling the things that have happened. She always tries hard but doesn't get anything in return. Now that she wants to live the life she wants with the person she loves, she's being held back by her mom. The next day, Sung Ju finds out that her younger brother used her personal seal to borrow money. Although she's angry, there's nothing she can do. Now she can only borrow the money herself. But because he's still resentful, In Pyo doesn't want to help her make the certificate of resignation. The two start arguing. Seeing Sung Ju being bullied, Jak Doo feels bad and takes her out, comforting her not to be sad. At this time, Jak Doo decides to restore his identity. Afterward, Jak Doo meets with Eric, explaining that he's the descendant of the artisan that he's looking for. Eric thinks he's lying and gets up to leave, Unexpectedly, Jak Doo directly reveals the story about the seal, surprising Eric. At this time, he believes that Jak Doo is the person he's looking for to help Seung-ju solve her current difficulties. Jak Doo suggests that Eric helps Seung-ju pay off her debts. Eric agrees, but he also asks Jak Doo to move out and live with him to help Seung-ju. Jak Doo happily agrees. The next morning, Jak Doo gets up and makes breakfast for Seung-ju. Looking at Jak Doo's back, Seung-ju feels very content. Jak Doo tells Seung-ju to add half a cup of water to the rice every time she cooks, and that the ingredients she likes to eat are all in the fridge. He also tells her to drink more chrysanthemum tea. These words make Seung-ju feel a little rambling. She thinks Jak Doo is right beside her, and she doesn't need to worry about these things. Looking at Jak Doo's face, wanting to say something but stopping, Seung-ju feels that he's hiding something from her. When Jak Doo leaves, Seung-ju tells him she hopes he'll come back soon. Jak Doo waves goodbye. Seung-ju doesn't know that Jak Doo's departure is permanent. Soon after, Eric keeps his promise, paying off all of Seung-ju's younger brother's debts. For his benefit, he even gives a bouquet to Seung-ju's mom. The mother is overjoyed and quickly calls Seung-ju to tell her the story, thinking that she's finally seen the light and found a rich man. Seung-ju quickly denies this. She obviously doesn't want her mom to have contact with Eric, or there'll be even more trouble. Meanwhile, Jak Doo meets with Yoon-jo, because Eric's conditions include that he has to film a documentary with Yoon-jo. Yoon-jo feels ironic, not expecting Jak Doo, who has been living in seclusion for 15 years, to film a documentary for a woman. Seung-ju goes out to find Eric, accidentally seeing Jak Doo and Yoon-jo meeting, and jealousy arises in her heart. She tries to call Jak Doo to ask about the situation, but Eric comes over and sits down with them. At this time, Seung-ju doesn't understand what's going on, not knowing why Jak Doo is with Eric. It's not until her best friend calls to remind her that Seung-ju realizes Jak Doo did this to find a way to help her pay off her debts. The next morning, Seung-ju opens the door to an empty room. The days without Jak Doo are lonely. Meanwhile, Jak Doo goes home to pack his bags, preparing to live with Eric according to the agreement. At the same time, Seung-ju's good-for-nothing younger brother gets into trouble again. After everything that has happened, not only does he not repent, but he wastes all of the family's savings, and now even the house is about to be seized. Mom angrily beats and scolds her son. But what can she do now? If she hadn't spoiled her son, things wouldn't have turned out this way. At this time, Mom thinks of Seung-ju again. She believes that Seung-ju is the older sister and should think about her younger brother. Afterward, she carries her luggage and goes to live at Seung-ju's house. Seung-ju doesn't know what to do either. Although she's very upset, she still decides to help her mom and younger brother one more time, cleaning up the room on the first floor for them to stay in. Unexpectedly, not only is Mom not grateful, but she complains, saying that the room on the first floor is too damp, telling Seung-ju to fix it up, and even demanding that her younger brother move into the bedroom on the second floor. These words make Seung-ju very angry. She firmly rejects her mom's request, but Mom still doesn't stop, and she secretly orders expensive furniture, while Seung-ju isn't paying attention. This makes Seung-ju feel very tired. To avoid involving Jak Doo again, she reluctantly breaks up with him. Unexpectedly, Mom takes an inch and wants a mile. What Seung-ju didn't expect was that her good-for-nothing younger brother would get into trouble. His girlfriend is pregnant, and the two want to get married right away. Coincidentally, his girlfriend is the sister-in-law of Seung-ju's best friend. Mom angrily scolds, thinking that her son isn't capable and still wants to get married. Now she also regrets it very much, because she wanted her son to have a better life. So she kept exploiting her daughter, but she raised her son to become like this. With no other choice, Seung-tae has to call his sister, Seung-ju, shamelessly asking her to give her villa to him to be his new house, also saying that she often works overtime and isn't home much. But Young-mi, his girlfriend, doesn't agree. She takes Seung-tae to see a big apartment, also saying that the two families can share the cost of buying the house together. Seung-tae can only pretend to agree. In reality, he doesn't have that much money. Young-mi's brother is also scratching his head. He doesn't like Seung-ju's lazy younger brother, but Young-mi is pregnant, so he can only accept it now. Afterward, the two families sit down to discuss their children's marriage. Seung-ju's mom sees that Young-mi is pregnant, so she urges the two to get married quickly, or it'll be embarrassing when her belly gets big. But Young-mi's brother doesn't agree. He thinks that Seung-tae doesn't have a job, so even if they get married, he won't be able to support his sister. Young-mi doesn't understand her brother's suffering and insists on getting married. Seeing this, Mom quickly reconciles, saying that the family doesn't have much money right now, so they should have a simple wedding. which will also save money for baby formula. At this point, Seung Tae suddenly suggests wanting to use his sister's master bedroom as their honeymoon suite, but his mom immediately shoots him down. Don't think she cares about her daughter. She just doesn't want her new daughter-in-law to get too big for her britches before even walking through the door. Jung Mai isn't happy to hear this. From a young age, she has never lived in a bedroom smaller than 50 square meters. Her brother also can't stand it. Not wanting his sister to suffer, he says that she should just get an abortion. Jung Mai quickly stops him, also thinking that her brother is too stingy, telling him to follow their father's dying wishes and buy her a bigger house, so she won't have to suffer after getting married. Her brother also has no other choice. Afterward, he intentionally keeps Seung Tae behind, making him sign a written guarantee, requiring Seung Tae to find a stable job before getting married. Otherwise, this marriage will be called off. Jung Mi's brother knows everything. Only a fool like Seung Ju would support her family. If it were him, he would have cut off contact with his family a long time ago. Seung Tae is a little embarrassed to hear this. As a graduate of a South Korean university, he can't find a suitable job. Jung Mi's brother doesn't want to delay any longer, so he arranges for him to work a heavy job at a restaurant. Meanwhile, mom takes Jung Mi home, then looks at Jung Mi's family's big house. She can't help but complain that this family is stingy. They clearly live in a big house, yet they're not willing to spend money on a house for their daughter to get married. Meanwhile, Jak Doo is still living at Eric's house, but he doesn't want to live like this anymore. So he decides to pass on his grandfather's craft to Eric so he can be freed. But Eric is clumsy and hurts his hands and feet before long. The press conference for the premiere of the documentary quickly begins. Seung Ju is also there and meets Jak Doo. Seung Ju doesn't persuade Jak Doo to come home because she doesn't want to involve him again. If mom finds out about Jak Doo's identity, she'll definitely come and cause trouble for him. Moreover, the content of the documentary revolves around the love story between Jak Doo and Yoon Jo. In the eyes of outsiders, the two are a loving couple. If Seung Ju and Jak Doo's relationship is revealed, it'll have a very bad impact on Jak Doo. To avoid meeting Jak Doo, Seung Ju takes the initiative to resign from the position of editor-in-chief, letting the evil In-pyo take over. Looking at In-pyo in front of him, Jak Doo remembers how he used to bully Seung Ju, so he doesn't give him a good look. Afterward, Jak Doo tells Eric that if the editor-in-chief of the documentary isn't Seung Ju, he won't agree to participate in filming anymore. After resigning to make a living, Seung Ju has to do many part-time jobs, working hard day and night. Jak Doo feels very sorry for her, but Seung Ju still insists on not going back. With no other choice, Jak Doo can only put pressure on Eric, forcing him to think of a way to persuade Seung Ju to come back to work. The group of friends sees Jak Doo's current achievements, lamenting that life is full of change, and advise Seung Ju to consider getting back together with him. After all, the two truly love each other. But Seung Ju doesn't agree. Jak Doo has gotten involved in the fight for fame and fortune for her sake, and she can't implicate him anymore. At the same time, the old woman in the countryside can't get in touch with Jak Doo, so she goes to Seung Ju's house to find him. Unexpectedly, she is scolded by Seung Ju's mom. She says that her daughter has divorced that poor guy, then chased the old woman away. But right after that, she can't laugh anymore. Seung Ju's mom accidentally sees Jak Doo's interview, realizing that he's a rich man in disguise. Jung Mai reminds her, saying that Jak Doo's handicrafts can each be sold for tens of millions of won. Seung Ju's mom's guts are filled with regret. She even shamelessly forced the two to divorce. At this time, her best friend reminds her, saying that Seung Ju only agreed to divorce him because she was afraid that mom would go to Jak Doo to demand money. Hearing this, Seung Ju's mom can't say anything. But how can she give up like that? She immediately makes an appointment to meet the old woman, pretending to be good and hospitable. But the old woman is not happy. She used to chase them out, but now she's bringing out food and drink. Who knows what they'll think? That the food is poisoned. To get money, Seung Ju's mom throws all caution to the wind. She apologizes to the old woman, hoping she won't hold it against her. The old woman is tricked by her sincere attitude and doesn't pursue her mistakes any further. At this time, Seung Ju's mom takes the opportunity to ask about the relationship between Seung Ju and Jak Doo. The old woman doesn't understand her intentions, saying that the two love each other. Seung Ju's mom is overjoyed to hear this. The old woman immediately reacts, realizing that Seung Ju's mom wants to butter up Jak Doo, and quickly leaves the restaurant. Seung Ju's mom goes outside, intending to ask for Jak Doo's phone number, when Seung Tae calls her back. It turns out that Seung Tae is working at this restaurant. Seeing her son working such a hard job, Seung Ju's mom decides she has to think of a way out. That evening, Sung Tae couldn't take it anymore. He calls Jung Mai, saying he wants to ask Jak Doo to arrange a job for him. After all, he's his former brother-in-law. Surely he'll help with this small thing. Jung Mi tells him not to dream in broad daylight. What kind of job can someone as arrogant as him do? Better to obediently butter up her brother. After hanging up, Jung Mi tells her mother-in-law to buy her a cake. As a result, when the mother-in-law goes downstairs, she accidentally sees Sung Ju and Jak Doo talking. She happily runs over. Seeing her mom, Seong Ju quickly tells Jak Doo to leave. Afterward, she holds her mom back. Mom wants to say hello to Jak Doo. Sung Ju knows her intentions, so she pulls her outside. Mom doesn't want to give up, pulling Sung Ju to Jung Mi's house. At this time, Sung Ju doesn't give Mom any more face, saying that it's because of her and her younger brother's actions over the years that no one dares to marry her now. Her best friend and her husband also start to chime in, saying that no matter whose child it is, they'll stay far away after seeing a mother like that. Mom is a little embarrassed to hear this. Afterward, her best friend pulls Sung Ju into the room, learning that Sung Ju and Jak Doo have reconciled. She sincerely blesses the two, also saying that Seong Ju can rest assured and date. Her troublesome younger brother is now working at the restaurant, and her troublesome mom is being kept busy by Jung Mi and can't get away. That evening, when Jak Doo takes Sung Ju home from work, he suggests sleeping at Sung Ju's house. Unexpectedly, Mom also comes here. It turns out that she feels sorry for her son working at the restaurant and being bossed around by Jung Mi every day. Now, no matter what anyone says, she has to move into Seong Ju's house. Sung Ju tells Jak Doo to go first, not wanting him to see her broken family relationship. As soon as Mom enters the door, she starts nagging non-stop, saying that her daughter-in-law is hard to serve and that she wants to move into Seong Ju's house. Sung Ju directly goes into the room, closing the door. Mom sees Jak Doo leaving through the window, and she immediately smiles, feeling that there's hope for the second half of her life. But thinking about her incompetent son, she definitely has to think of a way to solve this. The next day, Mom goes to Jung Mi's house, suggesting that the whole family live here in the future. Jung Mi's brother isn't worried at all, saying that he can give them a place to live, but they have to pay for their own living expenses. At this time, Seong Ju's mom can't say anything, so she can only temporarily do as he says. Meanwhile, Jak Doo is still training Eric, hoping he'll master the craft soon. It turns out that Jak Doo wants to take Seong Ju back to the countryside to live a rural life. Eric has to go through rigorous training while also wanting to pursue Sung Ju. These two things exhaust him, so he can only drink at home. After drinking, he makes a fool of Jak Doo. When he sobers up, Eric is extremely embarrassed, not only losing face, but also learning that Jak Doo and Sung Ju have reconciled. Jak Doo happily invites Eric to eat a meal. Looking at the bowl of rice in front of him, memories flood into Eric's mind. His childhood was very unfortunate. After his parents divorced, he lived with his dad. Unexpectedly, his dad found him more than a dozen stepmothers. And even worse, none of them were willing to cook for him. So he's been single for more than 30 years, just wanting to find a woman he loves. But the woman he loves someone else. Now that Seong Ju and Jak Doo have reconciled, Seong Ju also agrees to be the editor-in-chief of the documentary. Eric isn't willing to give up, warning Jak Doo not to let his feelings affect the filming. At the same time, Yoon Jo also seeks out Seong Ju, advising her to stay away from Jak Doo. After all, the two of them aren't meant to be together, and Jak Doo is also the descendant of his grandfather. Seong Ju naturally doesn't agree, because she understands Jak Doo's feelings, and the two have also agreed on their future. The next day is the day of filming. Yoon Jo takes Jak Doo's arm as if it's natural, and then the two of them walk into the room together. Sung Ju stands behind, her heart breaking, but for the sake of her future, she has to silently accept everything. On stage, the host asks Jak Doo if he decided to come back because of Yoon Jo. Jak Doo looks at Seong Ju in the audience, hesitating for a long time before answering. The host feels a little embarrassed, so she suggests changing the question. But Yoon Jo insists on Jak Doo answering. Jak Doo can only say against his will that he came back for Yoon Jo. At this time, Yoon Jo has tears in her eyes, then gets up and leaves the scene. This is clearly the answer she wanted, but she's not happy inside. Now, Yoon Jo completely understands that the woman Jak Doo loves is only Seong Ju, because she knows Jak Doo never lies, but he's gone against his principles many times for Sung Ju. Meanwhile, in Pios, people seek out Seong Ju and Jak Doo. It turns out that he's accepted an investment project, and threatens that if the two don't cooperate with him, he'll make their relationship public, and then neither of them will have peace. Faced with In Pio's threats, Sung Ju isn't afraid at all. She warns him not to act rashly, After all, he's directly involved in Se-ra's death. Furthermore, he and Se-ra have a secret child. If he doesn't want both of them to suffer, he'd better give up his evil intentions. In-pyo's mask is torn off, and he leaves angrily. Afterward, he seeks out Seung-ju's assistant. The assistant didn't check the product information when doing the program, leading to someone getting injured. Now the victim is causing trouble at the company every day. In-pyo immediately seizes this opportunity, suggesting that the assistant cooperate with him to bring down Seung-ju, and he'll help him solve the current situation. The assistant happily agrees, then secretly takes Seung-ju's camera, copies the contents inside, and hands it over to In-pyo. In-pyo goes to the prison to meet the stalker, promising to take good care of his child in exchange for his writing a letter of accusation, saying that Seung-ju forced Se-ra to leave. Afterward, the evil In-pyo takes the video and the letter of accusation to find Eric, demanding that he fire Seung-ju. In-pyo knows the documentary is Eric's passion. Faced with money and fame, he won't sit idly by. Finally, In-pyo proudly and self-importantly seeks out Seung-ju, telling her to pack her bags and leave the company. Seung-ju scolds In-pyo for being shameless, but he pushes her to the ground. Seeing this, Jak Doo rushes over to teach In-pyo a lesson. He won't let his woman be bullied. Jak Doo suggests to Eric that he wants to take Seung-ju back to the countryside to film the documentary. He's lived there for 15 years. Filming there will be more meaningful. Eric refuses. After all, the plan has already been made. Seeing Eric not agreeing, Jak Doo prepares to play his final card. He decides to reveal the story of his grandfather's death in the video. This makes Eric silent. Meanwhile, Seung-ju makes an appointment with her best friend for dinner. Her best friend laments the things that have happened in her family. Jung-mi can't stand the smell of cooking oil because she's pregnant. Seung-ju's mom is being bossed around every day by her to buy all sorts of things, and her incompetent younger brother is still working at the restaurant. That evening, Seung-ju takes Jak Doo home. The two can't help but recall their life in the mountains, when they were free and didn't have to worry about anything. The next morning, Eric knocks on Jak Doo's door, discovering that he didn't come home all night. Eric quickly calls Jak Doo, discovering that he left his phone at home, so he has to call Seung-ju, but no one answers the phone on the other end. At this point, Eric is imagining the two in bed together. He drives to Seung-ju's house, mentally preparing himself before entering. Eric agrees to let Jak Doo film in the countryside, on the condition that the two live at his house. This leaves Seung-ju confused. Afterward, everything is clearly arranged. After settling down, Seung-ju calls her best friend, saying that she's about to go up the mountain to film the documentary. She also suspects that someone tampered with her camera. Otherwise, In-pyo wouldn't have the video. Just then, the assistant brings the camera back. Seung-ju's best friend immediately suspects him, guessing that the assistant betrayed Seung-ju. Meanwhile, Jak Doo is also advising Eric not to easily believe In-pyo's words. But Eric says that In-pyo has a letter of accusation from the stalker. Jak Doo has no choice but to go to prison to meet the stalker. He says that Se-ra's death had nothing to do with Seung-ju. The stalker says he knows the truth, but he still wants to ruin Seung-ju's reputation. In-pyo, on his side, can't sit still anymore. Seeing that Eric refuses to fire Seung-ju, he comes to put pressure on him, saying that Seung-ju has no professional ethics, and such an employee will damage the corporate culture. Although he defends Seung-ju outwardly, thinking of the letter of accusation, Eric still decides to go home and asks Seung-ju about the truth. Seung-ju knows In-pyo is targeting her. She doesn't hide the truth, saying that it was because she took over the position of editor-in-chief that led to Se-ra's death. These words leave Eric on edge. If he continues to let Seung-ju be the producer, In-pyo will immediately release the letter of accusation. Eric asks for Jak Doo's opinion. Jak Doo says he believes Seung-ju, also saying that if Seung-ju isn't the producer, he won't come to film the documentary. The next day, Jak Doo finds the stalker's son, taking the boy to the prison to meet his dad. The stalker learns that In-pyo wants to take his son abroad alone. At this time, he realizes he was wrong. He can't entrust his son to someone like that, and also agrees to cooperate with Jak Doo to deal with In-pyo. The next day, In-pyo receives a call from the Director General. The truth about Se-ra's death has been exposed. The smug In-pyo is shocked, and he angrily runs to the prison. But the stalker doesn't want to see him. Soon after, Jak Doo takes Seung-ju back to the countryside, preparing to complete the filming there. Meanwhile, In-pyo still hasn't given up. To get his invested company listed on the stock market, he doesn't hesitate to use the filming funds for the documentary, also taking the opportunity to reveal Seung-ju and Jak Doo's relationship. The news quickly climbs to the top of the search rankings. Colleagues mock Seung-ju, saying that she stole Yoon-jo's boyfriend, making her angry and wanting to fight her. Her best friend quickly stops her, saying that now isn't the time to fight, they still have to deal with the aftermath. Her best friend's husband checks the company's financial report, realizing that the money Eric invested was all embezzled by NPO. Eric is heartbroken, not expecting NPO to be this kind of person, and quickly seeks out the legal department to handle this matter. NPO is very dissatisfied. Eric also refuses to give in. If he directly reports it to the police, NPO will rot in jail. But now, he's only notified the legal department, meaning there's still an opportunity for the two sides to negotiate. Eric demands that NPO publicly correct the news, otherwise he'll file a lawsuit. But NPO still refuses to give up. He tells his assistant to steal the original copy of the documentary, using that as a reason to delay the progress. Unexpectedly, the assistant is discovered by Seung-ju just as he's about to act. NPO's plan fails. The documentary is screened on schedule and receives very positive feedback. As the producer, Seung-ju deserves great credit. To reward Seung-ju, the minister of the national broadcasting station suggests that she become the director of the company. This is a position that Seung-ju has always dreamed of, but she doesn't agree immediately and falls into a dilemma. Jak Doo also learns about this from Eric. He really wants to take Seung-ju back to the countryside, but he doesn't want her to give up her dream of so many years. That evening, Seung-ju comes home. She seems very happy, but Jak Doo sees that she's forcing a smile. Seung-ju proposes to Jak Doo. Jak Doo knows Seung-ju wants to reassure him. He says he knows about the situation at the television station, hoping Seung-ju can try to pursue her dream. Afterward, the two drink beer under the moon. Jak Doo also takes this opportunity to confess his feelings to Seung-ju, hoping she won't feel pressured, and that she'll try to do the things she likes. Not long after, Jak Doo returns to the countryside. Although they live far apart, the two still have video calls on time every day, meeting once a week, like other long-distance couples. Initially, the two worked very well together, but over time, Seung-ju started working more and more overtime. Jak Doo sometimes doesn't have reception in the countryside, causing the two to miss their video call opportunities. This makes Jak Doo very sad. After all, he and Seung-ju aren't married yet. Seung-ju also thinks the same thing. She's pressured by work every day, to the point where she can't breathe. Her best friend advises her to meet Jak Doo more often. Otherwise, the two will break up sooner or later. Remembering the grievances of the past few days, Seung-ju can't take it anymore. She tells Jak Doo that she'll come to find him. The next day, she drives up the mountain. The two decide to hold their wedding here. With the warm blessings of their friends, a simple wedding becomes not so simple. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to see more great movies. Goodbye and see you next time.